The transition sometimes takes some time. So welcome to 21 the podcast. I'd like to tell y'all thank y'all for tuning in. Today I am with the CEO of Texas Humor, Mr. JB Sauceda.
Yeah.
Now, before we get to my guest, I do want to say Marcos is here. Now, we were gonna let him talk a little bit, but I somehow sabotaged the mic one more time. So he's not gonna be chiming in with us today, but he does have a special announcement for us at the end of the show. Now, back to what we were doing. JB, tell me a little bit about yourself, man.
So I grew up southeast of Houston, moved to Austin in 2003 to go to school. Stuck around, was in the advertising industry for about 10 years, and then just kind of out of nowhere, Twitter was kind of taking off like 2011. I mean, it had been around for a little while, but
Right.
it was starting to kind of, take off, and like your mom would get one, like that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And, they didn't really have a good kind of algorithm or anything set up for people to figure out what feeds to kind of follow. And so we got in, and I just started kind of tweeting, joking around about, stuff about living in Texas. And next thing I knew, the whole thing kind of blew up. And so, fast forward, handful of years, that was 2011, 2013, started like our online store. And, Texas Humor as a brand is really just about kind of making fun of what it means to live in Texas.
Right.
And the clothing and stuff that we sell is kind of the same thing. And it's kind of crazy. Never in a million years would I think that I'd basically just be running a social media company.
Right.
So it's cool.
And it's all about Texas, so I mean that alone is pretty dope. What part of Texas you say you were from?
I grew up in LaPorte, so southeast of Houston.
Right. I grew up in Freeport.
Okay.
Yeah. So pretty close.
Cool.
I think it's interesting too because it's like there's no other state that's actually gonna like have the same type of like a Texas humor. Like you can't have an Oklahoma humor. There may be one, but come on.
I mean, other states have pride in a way that's kind of cool. I mean, Ohio's got kind of a thing, that's really interesting. And
what shape is Ohio? It's a square, right?
Sort of. It's like a droopy square.
Yeah.
But it like Ohio's kind of got it. Like Chicago as a city has it.
Right. Yeah, cities definitely have pride.
So there's more of that,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
And I think and over the years, I've gotten a lot of people who've been like, "Hey, why don't you do like could you create a whole business of like nothing but kind of state-driven humor or whatever?" And I'm like, I probably could. There's probably an audience of people, but I think that just requires like a really common like identity across the whole state.
Right.
And there aren't a lot of places where you find that.
No, Texas has a particular
there's
type
something that's like, regardless of whether you're in Houston or you're in Dallas, like all the cities will talk trash about one another, but the second somebody from outside of Texas talks trash about anybody in the state, you kind of like step in.
Yeah, like hold up.
Like I'm allowed to talk about Dallas.
Straight
but you're
up.
not. You can't say anything about them. That
Yeah.
kind of deal. So
Yeah, exactly.
that's all I like about it.
All right, JB. So I didn't ask you, but do you know how to play blackjack?
Yeah, I mean, not well. Thankfully, this isn't about money. Because otherwise, I don't think I'd be in good shape. But yeah, like I'll typically when I go to Vegas, I like to play games I don't have to think about a lot.
Right.
So like I like to go get a drink and play roulette.
Yeah. Roulette is my favorite as well.
It's a party game.
Yeah.
You sit there and chat with your neighbors, whatever.
I be hitting
it's
on
kind of
roulette
like craps.
too, bro. When you hit on roulette, you hit hard.
So no, I love playing roulette, but I do play some blackjack occasionally.
Awesome.
So.
Well, here we go. We're gonna go with your first hand. Put one of those red chips up for me. Burn that card. And your first card is a 4 of spades. And then your second card is a 9 of hearts. So you're looking at 13. And I'm showing a 9.
Cool. I'll hit.
There we go. Know what you're doing. And you got a 7. So look at you with 20.
I think I'm gonna hold there.
All right. I flip over and I got a 6. So now I'm looking at 15. And a 7. So I bust.
Nice.
Marcos, the bust and 21 buttons do work this time.
What did you have?
9, 7, and 6. No, I'm just saying you could push bust and it'll just be like bust.
Bust.
There we go. New graphics on 21 the podcast. Everybody that's joining in, I'd like to again say thank you. Make sure while you're here to go down and click subscribe while you're here. Again, I am with JB Sauceda of Texas Humor. So, JB, how's the quarantine been treating you?
We run a warehouse
Right.
So I mean, because like Texas Humor is obviously like the business that it is with the social media and all that, but like the Texas Humor team in reality is just a handful of people.
Right.
Like doing the marketing and the email and all that stuff. I've got a small team for that, but I've got about 100 employees in total. And the vast majority actually work in our warehouse, and we do a bunch of shipping and logistics for other companies.
Yeah.
And so, it's kind of wild to say this, but like we've actually, like the quarantine we haven't benefited from, but the fact that everybody's like stuck at home and shopping online, like that's actually played out to the result of that is that people are basically spending more money online.
Yeah.
And so like all the companies that we work with are just doing gangbusters, and so like
and a lot of your stuff is like online ads and stuff like that. I mean, you're a social media company essentially.
Yeah. No, exactly. And so like, one of the things that happened with Texas Humor was that, when the state before the state did it, when all the cities kind of mandated masks, we were one of the first stores to have like really any that kind of fit or like kind of look cool instead of just like the real basic like cut fabric or whatever.
I bought a couple as soon as they came out. I didn't even mention the 8 Texas that I have up here.
I saw that.
As soon as I saw that design on the mask, I was like, all right, you got me.
Yeah, I mean, like we're sitting far apart, but I mean, like our Howdy mask has been popular, and so like some of these masks, when they first came out, like I mean, we were selling easily. Our top selling products of all time have been the masks.
Really?
And it was just, we kind of got to market like 3 or 4 weeks before everybody else could, because our manufacturer was closer and most people were buying them overseas. And so, I mean, it was wild. I mean, we went from kind of being down and not really hitting our targets to suddenly being like way up year over year. So that was huge. And then the rest of our business has been crazy too, because people are shopping online. So almost all of our other clients are just like blowing up. So it's been good in the sense that it sucks watching what's happening to all these companies,
right?
But it's been kind of cool that we've been able to sort of like take these like other people, these people who basically been laid off or furloughed, they're able to come over and like work with us.
Oh, that's dope.
Kind of get a vibe. So I mean, because we had 45 people like at the beginning of this year, and or like kind of beginning of the quarantine, and we went from kind of like having to scale back hours to suddenly like we can't hire people fast enough.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
How does that feel as a business? How old are you, JB, if you don't mind me asking? 35.
Yeah.
So how does it feel to be 35 and have a business that has 100 plus people working for you guys?
I mean, alcohol helps a lot. It's cool, man. Honestly, like it's pretty wild. My wife tells a story all the time about how when she was leaving her last job to come work with me, she told her parents, hey, like, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to go with JV's doing this online store. And they sort of were like, wait, like, you're going to leave your like stable job to go also be an entrepreneur, with your husband. Like, that seems crazy. And, we totally understand where they were coming from. I think when I first went out on my own, my parents kind of looked at it the same way. We laugh now because like we're the stable job people come to, that's a super cool feeling.
Yeah.
And, and like, I mean, I'm Hispanic, my family, is from South Texas, and, it's cool to kind of like continue on. Like, my dad, is part of the generation, his family was the first one to go to college in that family. And, to get to kind of like take that even a step further, go to UT like he did, but then also get to open a business like my uncle did, and then like employ a lot of people. It's a super cool feeling, especially to do it here in Texas. Like,
exactly.
Just everybody's got a really good community.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I forgot to give you this last time.
Oh yeah,
you
man,
actually
thanks.
won.
Yeah.
We're gonna
go
ahead and play.
my other chip too?
I'll take
You
the
take
red
that
one. Yeah.
All right.
So the black just shows you how many you
I actually
won.
won.
Yeah.
Right.
So put up one more for me. We're gonna go ahead and play another hand.
Okay.
Marcos, are we good on audio?
Yeah.
Cool. Nice.
Sweet.
All right. So your first hand is a 3, or your first card is a 3 rather, and a 6. So you are showing 9.
Yep.
And I'm showing a king.
Cool. I'll take a hit.
That's it. And you got a 6. So now you're looking at 15.
Yeah, I'll take a hit.
There we go. And a 6. So
Boom.
you got 21.
I'll take it.
And I'm flipping over and I'm showing a 5. So I have 15. I'm showing another 5 and I got 20. Now,
Sweet.
At a casino, they don't get to hit. But
Yeah.
This is my house.
Yeah.
So let's hope for an ace. And I got a queen, so I bust again. So damn, JB.
I'm on a roll.
There we go.
Yeah.
I did not keep up with that one.
It's all good. We got the camera up here showing what it is as well. Did I give you a second one?
Yeah, I got it.
So one thing I saw that you brought in with you is the book.
Oh yeah, so you asked me if I like I'm the world's worst. Like I promote our business and stuff on Twitter all the time, but like as far as products go,
Yeah.
people ask me to come out and sort of represent Texas Humor, and then I'm like, I'm not wearing a Texas Humor t-shirt
Right.
or whatever. I'm terrible at that. So on my way out the door, I grabbed my book.
Yeah.
Because I can grab this. I didn't have to change a shirt for it. But I wrote this book a handful of years ago, and my buddy Cody kind of helped me, fill in a lot of it when he was helping me design it. But it's called Y'all Need This Book, and I'm in this camera, right? In the center one? Which one am I at? Yeah. Oh, I'm over
This
here.
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's called Y'all Need This Book, and it's the definitive guide to being Texan. And I claim it's about 60% accurate, which is about the accuracy of most Texans' stories about
right.
what bullshit they're telling. So, but anyway, I like it. I call it like the perfect toilet book, because you can you can buy it, stick it next to your toilet, and read it probably 50 different times and always find something different, because like it's all just kind of this crazy layout and
there's graphs and charts and shit.
Yeah, there's like a driving simulator that's basically like the same photo over and over. And so anyway, tons of cool stuff in there. My grandmother's enchilada recipes in there. There's some solid stuff. So go check it out. It's on Amazon. You can look it up there. I've got it for sale on TexasHumor.com too. And if you email me, I'll sign your copy or something like that. But anyway, super good toilet book for you, and a really great gift book for all the people that are moving here from outside of the state. So
speaking of that, what made you move to Austin in the first place?
Really, I grew up coming here because my dad went to UT, and so he grew up, or he went to school here, and then my aunt and uncle that were also in school at the time, they stuck around. They live up in Round Rock, and so basically, we came up and visited them a ton, and then we spent a bunch of time going and visiting at UT, and just when I was a little kid, getting to go to that bowling alley that's in the basement.
Oh,
I was like, oh my god, they got a bowling alley here. So
now, the last time I went to it when I was older,
Yeah.
and I fucking hated it.
It's
just
kind of
felt
busted.
so, yeah.
It's not. I mean, it's claustrophobic, and it's downstairs. Yeah.
Bad, man.
But when you're a 7-year-old,
yeah, you're all little, everything's big. So.
Well, and you just think it's cool that there's
Yeah.
a bowling alley at school. So I think I went there twice when I was actually in college. So yeah, I didn't actually get the use out of it. But still, either way, came here for that reason, and then because I ended up in advertising, of all the cities you can live in and be in advertising, Austin's the one to be in. If you're not going to be in New York or LA or something. So,
Yeah.
I just stuck around. So
Man, there's a couple of political questions that I've actually skipped over, only because I know, you're representing your company and everything like that. I don't want you to go into stuff like that. But if those do arise again, do you mind if I ask?
You can ask me, and what I'll say is that
Yeah, you need a safe word.
I'm a pretty diplomatic person.
Okay.
So, I think that the challenge with really where we are today is that people want to take it one way or the other.
Yeah.
And
Everything's
and
politicized.
I think context matters.
Right.
That's kind of my thing. So yeah, you can ask away.
Cool.
If I'm I don't want to get into that. I'm not trying to talk about the merits of going to Mars. I don't know, whatever that is. I'll just tell you, I don't, whatever. I'll leave that to the politicians to argue about. So,
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna play one more hand.
Cool.
You're up 2 already, so
All right.
go ahead and put a red chip up for me. Your first card is a 4.
Okay.
Your second card is a jack, so you're looking at 14. And I'm showing a 7.
Cool. I'll hit.
Good hit. You got a 2, so now you're looking at 16.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and hit.
Hit again. And a jack, so
Damn,
you bust this time. There we go. I had to get a win, man.
Yeah.
You couldn't just whoop my ass on my own show.
Well, let me ask you. So, what's
up?
the what was the idea behind building the show around 21 or around blackjack?
Cause I fucking love to gamble. Well, it was a couple things.
Do you play online?
I used to.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played for any money. Every time I would get in, because we're in Texas, it's always a fucking hassle to do all that shit. But when I go to Vegas, it's either this or roulette, same thing. If I'm not hammered drunk, I'll sit at the blackjack table because I know
Yeah.
what I'm doing. And then once I get drunk, I go to roulette.
My
and-
problem is I do it the other way around. I'm like, oh, I'm in a
Yeah.
good mood. I'm gonna go play roulette, and then I'm like, I've been drinking. I'm probably pretty good at blackjack.
Yeah.
Now. It's like, no, I probably should go the other
Right.
way. So, yeah.
And then growing up, my basketball number was 21.
Cool.
And it kind of all just came around. Like there's a new thing I'm doing now called 21 Headlines, where it's basically still using the 21 like brand, but going through 21 headlines through the week, just like the craziest shit that I've seen, and just listing them off, like not giving an opinion on anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I do make some snarky shit here and there, but it's basically just like showing, shit like that. So I don't know, man. I had an availability to all the gear and shit, and like me and him, we work at the same place filming news all the time, not really stuff for ourselves. And so it was like, I need something for me, you know what I'm saying? Something
Cool.
that I go home and work on, you know what I'm saying? So
Cool.
it's been pretty cool, man. I've had some pretty interesting people on here.
I dig it. Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
you were asking
you
about,
got some good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Alex
you were
Jones
asking
was on
about
your lap, like,
Jones.
2 weeks ago or whatever.
That guy's fucking
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
And then Freeway Rick Ross, like
Yeah.
that shit was dope. But yeah, man, dude, not many people ask me questions on the podcast, so I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
So now that the quarantine's kind of been loosening up a little bit around town, what was like the first thing you wanted to go out and do, like when things open? Now things are starting to close again, but when it first started opening, what was it?
Honestly, it was just seeing people. I'm
Yeah.
super social, and I
Yeah.
kind of get re-energized by. It's weird. Like I'm a creature of habit. And I
Mhm.
like kind of repeating stuff and give you a chip before I
Oh,
forget.
yeah, there we go.
So I've got kind of a habit I try to stick to, and so I like things that are familiar, but at the same time, too much of that can kind of wear me down a little bit. And so I think the biggest challenge for me was that it was just kind of tough to, like, I'm just zoomed out. You
Yeah.
know? So like I kind of get everybody wanting to get out of the house and go rush out and stuff, but we really, especially at the warehouse where people are having to be real close to each other. It was tough because we got a lot of young people that work for us that are in mid-20s, whatever, and they especially are like, man, I'm just so used to, after a hard day in the warehouse or whatever, going and having a beer right across
Yeah.
the street.
Mhm.
My best friends all work here, so I want to go hang out with them. And it's hard to kind of like have that, like you got to just put up for a while, otherwise this thing's just going to get dragged out, And I've heard people kind of make the statement before, like, if you're gonna have to eat a shit sandwich, like, it's better to just gobble it up and like deal with it,
Yeah.
than to like nibble at it slowly. and
Like
be
you always
eating a
want to
shit
take the
sandwich.
whooping and not get grounded.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
just-
no,
let's
like
knock
right,
this out.
yeah, and so I
That's-
think that even for me, I know that there was a period where the numbers just kind of stayed where they were, and you're kind of going like, you know what, maybe it's about where, like, how close everybody lives. In New York, that's why it was worse and
Right.
whatever. And in reality, it was just, like, there are just more people out close to one another, not wearing masks, whatever. The second that, like, the state started going in that direction, people were back out and just, like, breathing on each other real close. Like,
Yeah.
boom, you saw those numbers go up, So,
And
so
see-
that was tough.
That's one of the things that about people, like as a general, like as a whole, like you don't have to be that close to people, man. Like even when you're just out, like before all this shit, why are you all up on me? Give me some space. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it's like even if you just adapted that to where you kept the 6 feet from people, you know what I'm saying, and just really not being aware of what you're touching and intermingling between your hands. like,
This whole thing would be over a lot faster if that's kind of the way people thought about it. It was like, you know what, I'm going to go out, but I'm only going to do stuff that's like that, And I think that it's just a challenge that people have. And look, it's not unique to anybody. It's not a political ideology. It's like most people just kind of think it's never going to happen to me, and then it does, and they become real passionate about it, And so I think that the reason that most people kind of like get desensitized to things like that is they just think it's real far away.
Yeah.
Like it'll never happen to me. So
Right.
so what? And the next thing you know, it boom, it does. So I don't like that people sort of characterize it as you're either like being an alarmist or you're like blowing it off. I think that there's something in between. But for sure, man, like as soon as things started to kind of open up, we were like, can my brother-in-law come over and like have a beer in the front yard?
Right.
Like what can we do
Yeah.
like that? And that's easily what we miss the most.
Yeah,
So-
seriously. Even and talking about small businesses and stuff earlier too, the bar that we went to after work just recently closed down because of
Which
all
one was
this
that?
shit. don't want to say where it's which
fair
one
enough.
it is.
Yeah.
Just because that kind of draws some attention in
Oh,
other
got it.
places.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
but yeah, I'll tell you after the show
Yeah.
for sure. But just seeing something like that, like somewhere that that was like our oasis after a fucking long day of dealing with this bullshit. Anyway, it's like I never even thought. Like, did you think that anything like this could ever really happen?
No, I mean, but that's my point. Is that I think that, they talk all the time about how, like, humans aren't wired to, like, think about really large numbers. We talk about some of these like huge numbers. People's brains just kind of melt, right? And I think that this is a similar situation. I think it's one of those, like, we're all the frog in the water that is starting to boil. You kind of don't notice it, and I think that for the most part, especially here, like in Austin, I remember in 2008 when the economy tanked. The economy didn't. It's not like we were just like streaming right through it.
Right.
But this wasn't Phoenix. It wasn't like what happened in Vegas, where housing just went like, and everybody was like out, right? Like we were a little bit immune, comparatively speaking.
Right.
A lot of people lost their jobs, but comparatively speaking, it was not like what it was in other places. And so I think that just depending upon where you live, it's easy to kind of fall into that rhythm and just kind of think like, for whatever reason, it just took longer to get to the other places around the country. And New York and the West Coast kind of took it on the chin first. And they kind of did what they had to do. And in here, we were like, well, we don't understand it enough. It seems different about where we live.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe nothing will happen. And, I think people just kind of get into that false sense of security, But
do you feel like
that happens everywhere?
We're like heading toward a second shutdown, or you think we're coming out of this?
I think what people are doing that's kind of smart is that they're looking at like where do we need to be more strategic, and I think at the end of the day, if a city or the state has to shut down, like the people brought it on themselves. It's like that's what it is. Like if you weren't safe and you weren't wearing your mask and you weren't trying to be out and really like distance, wash your hands, all that, then we're just going to contribute to this thing like sticking around for a while, right? And we don't know enough about what they're going to do to make it go away or for us to become immune to it or whatever. Is this going to be like SARS where it's going to like develop, like kind of burn off and just disappear? Is it, like what we don't know. And so I don't know that I think that like we're going to another shutdown. I think you look at the other countries that are really, really like strict about mask usage and stuff, and like Japan's doing great, and these other places are doing great. And they were really good about just, all right, let's do what we got to do, own our responsibility to kind of the greater good. And they've like pushed through it faster. So my hope is that we don't have to do that. I mean, I see what's happening with businesses. I had a conversation with a business owner today about some challenges he's having around his rent and, what his landlord is willing and not willing to do. And I think the moment that we could have done the shutdown successfully as a country passed. And now instead of everybody kind of going through it at the same time, you've got these like weird pockets where it's like way worse. Yeah. And then like some people are opening their businesses and others aren't. And so cash is going to start becoming an issue. And that's what's scary, really. Because you don't just turn the economy back on like that.
Well, that's another thing I was going to ask. As a business owner, do you follow the stock market at all?
I'm not a stock market guy.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that the stock market is truth. Like not in the like. It's truth for people relative to the value of the businesses, but it's not the economy. Like the stock market and the economy are different. And so to me, like I watch it. I've got investments, but I don't say like, oh, look, it's doubling in value. Because really, I think about the number of people out there who don't have a position in the stock market.
Right.
And cool, stock market's going great for those of us that have money in it.
Yeah.
But if you're just making enough money to pay your rent and everything else, you're not concerned about what GE stock or Tesla stock did.
Right.
You don't have $30,000 to just lose, over there. So I think it's great, and there's a lot of value creation there, and we've certainly benefited from it.
Seem like a very humble guy, JB.
My wife and my wife might have a different opinion of that.
Yeah, there we go.
So,
all right, JB, put up one more red chip for me, bro. We're gonna get into what is this? The fourth hand. And you got a 7 and a 10, so you're looking at 17, and I am showing a 3.
I burned my hand last time, so I wasn't touching the stove. So I think I'm gonna stand here.
There you go.
Yeah.
Got 17, and now I got an 8, so I'm looking at 11. I got a 2, I'm looking at 13, and a 10. I bust. That was
Nice.
a solid stay, man.
I'll take that.
Solid stay. All right. So, what has been the funnest thing? Is everything good, Marco? No, you fucking up the numbers still? It's all good, bro.
It's like jackpot.
Yeah, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Dude, did you see that somebody won in the Las Vegas airport $870,000 on a slot machine?
Dude, I was convinced that all those slot machines are fake.
Me
Like,
too.
Nobody's making money on those
in the
things.
airport, like, there's no way, bro.
I think I have seen at one dude one time where he won enough money that he had to go get a guy to come
Right.
do
Yeah.
do the, like, let me take a photo and all that stuff. So
Well, that's
but
what,
it
'cause I
wasn't
didn't
that
even
kind of
see a
cash.
place to where I didn't see a cashier in the entire.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like
that's why I've been like skeptical. I'm like, well, what if I did hit? What
They said this lady won nearly $1 million on a slot machine in there. I said, man, there's no fucking way.
Good
dude.
night. Yeah.
So what's been one of the funnest things for you running Texas Humor?
You know, I think that
as a brand, not as like not even thinking about the people, just like
yeah.
as the brand.
I think just getting to see the number of places where it kind of pops up is super cool, and I think that in a really interesting way. It wasn't like intended to be this way, but earlier you were saying that I was humble. I think like what we as a brand try to do, and I try to do personally, is really just understand everybody. And I think Texas Humor. What's been really fun about that is that, the unfun thing about running an account like that is that you got a really big audience. You're going to have people who are your naysayers. It doesn't matter what you do.
What kind of naysay does Texas Humor get?
Dude, if we post, something about the masks, people who are pro-mask are like, complaining that they're not, they don't have coffee filter places to insert or whatever, right?
Mm.
And if you're anti-mask, you're like, hit me with your QAnon, whatever, crap. And so it's just like that part of it can be a challenge for sure. And that sucks because like Texas Humor is not political. It's like, it's purposefully pro-Texas, but it's not pro-partisan Texas. And, to me, there's so much more that like unites the people of the state. Really, when you think about the commonalities, and politics are not one of them.
Yeah.
So, like, the fact that that's become such a big piece of a people's identity is, like, kind of a bummer to me. But I think that that's kind of why I like Texas Humor, and it excites me because of all the things that I can kind of point to, like, it is fun seeing people, like, we've sort of been on this angle here recently where we're kind of, like, making fun of the individual cities or sort of, like, poking fun at each other. And
like how y'all spell the spelling ones.
Yeah, but even just where we'll be like, the Parks and Rec meme where we were like cities as Parks and Rec's characters. And we put like different people on there as different cities, and so people always beat up on Dallas or they always beat up on Waco or whatever, and it's just kind of cool to sort of see their like you can kind of sense the different ideologies people have sort of about their politics. But everybody kind of comes around this like one water cooler that they all kind of joke around about. So that makes me happy. When I look at the people that follow us too, it's like, I mean, the governor follows, which is super fun. And McConaughey. Well, no, he's the one person we haven't gotten.
Damn it.
But like, what's her face? Casey Musgraves. I got to meet her.
Who's Casey Musgraves?
She's a country musician. She's
okay.
huge. She's huge. And but she follows. George Strait follows us.
George Strait, now that's fucking fire as fuck.
Yeah, so we've got like Paul Wall. Paul Wall follows us.
Yeah,
I ran into him in Houston, and he was like, "Dude, I love your account."
That's like, fucking live.
We were
bro.
walking out of an Astros game, World Series, whatever, a few years ago. We were playing the Dodgers, and it was him and his jeweler, that short dude that
Johnny Dang.
Yeah. And yeah, we were walking out, and I was like, "Dude, Paul Wall, what's up, man? Like, can I get you on Texas Humor?" He was like, "Bro, I follow y'all." And
that's fucking lit.
So that I think is cool that you've got this like wide array of people.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of like leaves. I mean, I say everybody. Most people leave the politics at the door. You're always just going to have that group that's there. But in the moments where someone kind of, frankly makes a fool of themselves and sends us something that's a little across the line, like, it's also been kind of fun to like publicly, I don't put anybody on blast like their name,
Yeah.
but it's kind of fun to put their ideas on blast a little bit and kind of be like,
show people.
doesn't matter what you
people.
believe in, like you can't be racist, dude, or like whatever. And so getting to use the platform for that is kind of cool, like when that matters, But,
Right.
But outside of that, it's fun to like kind of unite people about something,
So do you have other people that help you like with the content for the account?
Oh yeah, I mean, when so part of the reason I know like they're not an advertiser, but
Yeah, no, that's all good.
part of the reason I asked you to give me a high life was because I used to drink at this bar down on South Lamar called the Horseshoe Lounge,
Okay.
and it was this old honky tonk kind of country bar, right there at Old Torf in South Lamar, and I go in there and get high lifes, and when I first started the account, like I was just kind of tweeting, from my couch. But eventually, like I've always subscribed to that. I think they've always attributed this to Hemingway, but like, write drunk and edit sober. And so I always found that it was easier to come up with content for Twitter and like those memes and stuff if I was drinking.
Yeah.
So I'd cruise over there and like kind of work and like get stuff scheduled up. But eventually as the business grew, like at a certain point, like I grew up in Houston and I'm Hispanic. So I'm going to talk about George Strait and Selena a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't know anything about Lubbock. I don't know anything about Amarillo. I definitely don't know much about El Paso. So if we really want the brand to kind of be representative of the state, like got to bring in some like diversity of thought. And so we started to do that a few years ago. And I've got 2 interns that help us kind of come up with some content. We just hired them. And then this other woman, Sydney Fowler, who kind of helps split those duties with me. And had another girl named Allison who helped me for the first few years and stuff. So it's kind of run the gamut, but we sort of collaborate on ideas and partner on all that stuff. And but yeah, at a certain point, like as much as you can talk about Texas every day, when it's a slow news day, it's kind of hard to come up with stuff that isn't just making fun of the heat or like going to Whataburger.
Yeah, exactly.
So at a certain point, like days like this week, I mean, honestly, until we got the news about Tesla and the Cybertruck, it was like, there's not a lot to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got this hurricane or this like tropical storm coming.
You think they're gonna make a Texas edition of the Cybertruck, bro?
I hope so, man. Like,
I wonder what that would look like, man.
Yeah,
like, what differences are they gonna make to make it a Texas edition?
I feel like there's gonna be something like that they're gonna do.
Because Elon likes doing shit like that. Like
like that not a flamethrower thing.
Yeah.
And
I got one of them bitches in there, bro.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh well. Yeah. No, dude, I think he's awesome. We bought a Tesla a while back, or about a couple months ago, and
see, I'd never do that.
Dude,
you love it?
Love that car. Yeah, I drive a Silverado most days, but my wife got it, and honestly, one of the most fun cars I've ever driven. Like, it's a breeze.
I can't get behind it, man.
Yeah.
Look, I'm gonna ask one more question before we go to your last hand, and I like how we keep getting off and then I keep bringing it back to Texas Humor, bro. But I've followed Texas Humor for a long fucking time, man. And like I remember getting that at I think it was Barbecue Austin. Like it was either Barbecue Austin or a Crawfish Bro. I can't remember. But there was a trailer that we went up to and he like had a box of them. I'm like, bro, what are you doing with that? He's like, oh, we're sponsored by Texas Humor and this and that.
It was a barbecue cook-off.
Barbecue
the
Austin,
one out, out at the
rodeo.
Travis County.
Yeah.
So those guys are buddies of mine.
Yeah.
It was the Central Texas Cookers, I think it was.
Yeah.
A bunch of orange shirts.
Yep. And man, as soon as he handed it to me, I was like, fuck yeah, like this is badass. Like, because I would always see it online and shit. So But yeah, so to bring it back, where do you see the future of Texas Humor? Like, what coming out of this quarantine shit? And just moving ahead, what do you see happening?
That's hard to say. I think that I want to see our products obviously on more people. Like I want to see more people wearing our stuff and people being excited about our content. The bigger thing really is like I want us to get back to kind of our media roots where like when I first started out, I was on the feed a lot more and kind of talking as myself or really representing kind of what, instead of everything just being memes, it was a little bit more of a conversation with our audience. And so that's been a big focus for us this year is how can we do more of that? Like
I've noticed with the newsletters and emails.
Yeah, like via TikTok, the newsletter, like all that stuff. Like I just want us to have a deeper relationship with our audience. And
those kind of seem like you're back, you're sitting back drinking and it's just like.
That's mostly, that's kind of the idea is like when we started doing those, it was like, I'm on the couch. I haven't sent a marketing email instead of sending a marketing email with somebody going like this, wearing a T-shirt, like
Yeah.
why not entertain people? You know?
Right.
So they've been really popular. Those to-do lists have just been like kind of people's favorite thing in a while. So it's cool.
Yeah, that's fucking dope, bro.
Yeah.
All right, put up that last red chip for me. You're up 3. What do you
Yeah.
got? Oh shit, 3-1 so far. So you are showing a 7 and a 9. So you're looking at 16. I'm showing a jack.
I'll hit.
Ooh, and you got a 3, so you're looking at 19.
I'm gonna stay.
All right. I got a queen, so I take one
Damn.
more. But you still win the war, bro.
I do win the war.
You won the
Yeah.
war. So usually after the show is done and over with, I sit back and I chat with my guests for a little bit off the camera. So it's like we don't, nobody's listening to us or anything. But then
Yeah.
one thing that always happens is we're like, fuck, we should have talked about that.
Oh yeah.
Is there anything that you'd like to talk about or you could think that we should talk about before we go?
I don't know. I'm always curious. Like, what brought you to Austin? Are you from here?
No, I'm from, like I said, I'm from just south of
that's right,
Houston
you're
too. I'm from Freeport, yeah.
So what brought you to Austin?
Man, that's an interesting story, and it's crazy, man. How can I explain it? Because I know she's watching. I have to explain it perfectly. I came here with one of my best friends in the world. She was going to cosmetology school, and I just moved out of here because Freeport is like a place where nothing jumps off, bro. It's like I've always like wanted to do something bigger, and like back there, like it was just working in the plants type shit.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of like kismet, bro. It just kind of happened. I won't say that it happened in the best way,
Yeah.
but for it to happen like it did, I think it was God's plan, man. And fucking Austin is pretty dope.
Yeah.
Minus the politics shit, because they're like the politics in Austin are completely different than anywhere else in Texas, I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And but there's just so much shit to do. There's like most of the people are fucking cool as shit. Like everybody's pretty laid back. I don't have to wear shoes to work every day. I wear socks and slides, bro. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And like you can walk into spots like that. So
Yeah.
Austin was I think I only came to Austin like twice before I actually moved here.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm always just interested in it because I think like, are there any actual like? The answer is yes, but
Very
like,
few.
are there any actual Austinites that like still live here? And I think it's an interesting city in the way that it's constantly evolving and people are coming in and out. And
How do you think it's gonna change when Elon and Joe Rogan, they're all moving out here, bro?
Is Elon or Joe Rogan said he is?
Ro-
Well, I didn't know that.
Rogan's coming out here. They were just I think it was Joey Diaz even confirmed it the other day too. That
I was laughing the other day. Some tweet that I saw. It was like, Joe Rogan is what's her the woman that married the lead singer of Coldplay, Gwyneth Paltrow. They're like Joe Rogan's Gwyneth Paltrow for guys, which I thought was pretty funny. Yeah, I think that like
it's pretty good.
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I forget who tweeted that, but I saw that. I was like, that's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I think, look, you always want everything to stay the same, right? Like, I'm sad that the Horseshoe Lounge closed, but you know what? That was the business owner's decision. I have a good friend, this guy, Rabbit, who owned a place in East Austin called Rabbit's Lounge for like 50 years. And it's a bar now called Whistler's. Got gentrified. Man, I used to hang out there every day. It was great, the Tejano bar. We'd go over there, listen to Tejano music. Rabbit, his son Ryan would bring out this like speaker and stick it on a chair, and like he had the wire hanging from the wall, and he just like,
Yeah.
plug in like you go inside and punch in the songs, and then go outside. And so like that's what kind of little cantina that place was. It was awesome, and it reminded me of like being in the valley with my family. And so when that place closed, like people were freaked out about it, and they were like, oh, another piece of East Austin's dying. But like when you really just take a step back and look at it, like Rabbit was pretty pumped because like there weren't a lot of dudes sitting around drinking, High Life for $2 on the porch
Right.
anymore. And now he's collecting like rent checks that are just like through the roof,
Yeah.
in that building. And so I think
that's
that
live.
it's not a
Yeah.
zero-sum game. I try to remind people of that, that like, look, these things are changing, and like Austin at its core is going to evolve. But there are a lot of cities and states around the country that would love to have the problem that we have. You know, I mean, look at Detroit. How long they went through people just like leaving that city in mass exodus, you know, for various reasons. That's sad to see anywhere, because then you got schools and police departments and fire departments, everything else just kind of getting slowly kind of eaten at. And
no, Austin's gonna be booming.
We're booming, yeah. So I think that, you know, on my way over here, I was kind of tweeting with somebody about it, and her comment was really just about like, you know, are they going to make like housing more affordable? And I think it's a huge concern for people that live in Austin, for sure. But I am always reminded of like how long it took me to drive across Houston, like from where I lived to where, like, you know, most of my friends live now in downtown Houston in the Heights. Like that's a 35-minute drive at least. And it wasn't abnormal for people to live outside of town, have a really nice house. They could afford that. They could afford their car.
I can understand this point. However, you know, Austin doesn't have the infrastructure like
Houston.
No,
so but that's where I'm going. Is that like that's the key, right? Like of all the things that Austin's had for a while that I think's got to change, is this mindset of if you don't build it, they won't come. Yeah. And I think that's kind of a you know, of all the opinions I don't mind sharing publicly, I think that's a challenge that we've really got to like evolve. And
yeah, because they're coming.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, it's not even that they are. It's like they've been. You know, I mean, look, when Dell opened up in the '90s, boom. You know, and it's like we've. This isn't the first time this has been happening. What has happened is that a lot of people who have not wanted to see change have been kind of roadblocks rather than partners. And one of my really good friends, this guy Jose Velasquez that lives in East Austin, started an organization called Hermanos de East Austin. And, you know, his mindset was like, look, I grew up over on, you know, Willow on the east side, and, you know, I'm part of this like neighborhood, and you can either like just complain about the change, or you can be a part of the conversation. And that's that was the objective he had in that organization, was to say like, as East Austin's changing, let's get some of that cash, let's get some of that stuff and like really evolve and improve everybody's lives. And to me, that's really what I want to see in Central Texas. I want to see it in Texas. You can't stop people from moving here from other places. Like, we've been talking for a long time about how great it is to live in this state. You know, I'm like, you know, patient zero on that. I've been tweeting about it for, you know, almost 10 years. So when it starts to catch on and people were like, oh, I can move to a place with no income tax. Oh, I can move to a place where like housing's cheaper. You know, it's not a surprise. So, you know, my thing is like, we've got to do what we need to do as a city. Like invest in infrastructure and invest in all that stuff that makes it easy for the economy to boom, you know, and so that's my hope. Like as a business leader, I look at it and I say, when we can put money into schools and put money into roads, it makes it easier for business and puts more money in everybody's pocket. So
straight up,
that's like my that's my campaign promise.
Yeah. JB 2024.
Not that soon.
Yeah.
Not that soon. Yeah.
All right, JB, man, I really appreciate you coming by. Now, if this was any other time, of course, we'd be shaking hands.
Yeah, dude.
But you know how that shit goes. Everybody, I want to thank Marcos Morales for switching the shit. We're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to end this episode here, and then Marcos is going to come back and introduce some shit here shortly. JB, before we go, look in this camera right here and tell people where they can find you, bro.
You can find me at JB Sauceda on Twitter, so JayBSauceda on Twitter. We've got Texas Humor, which is our big content account, and then Sauceda HQ is our 3PL, like kind of warehouse business. So we're hiring. If you're looking for work, look us up on Sauceda HQ. And then if you like just, you know, fire memes about Texas, follow Texas Humor. And yeah, I'll see you on the internet. So,
boom. There we go.
Thanks for having me, Drew.
Fuck yeah, man. I appreciate you coming by, brother.
Yeah.
All right. This is 21 the podcast. If you haven't yet, subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Adios.